Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where we provide world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is the Listening Mentor Show. This is a show where our star of our show and myself, we help educate people on effective patterns of behavior so that you have better relationships, deeper connections, and more authentic conversations. Today, our topic is silent barriers, the impact of noise on effective listening. Let's welcome the star of our show. Her name is Caroline.heward, and she's joining us from London. She's known as the Harley Street Stress Expert. She helps people literally bust their stress. She's also the host of A Woman's Prerogative, seen here on USA Global TV and Radio, and she soon will be returning with her Talking Heads episode as an expert presenter. Let's welcome Caroline.heward. Hello, welcome.
Hello. Well, that was a long introduction. I didn't realize how many things I was doing.
I know you're doing it all, and you're doing it so well, and it's a pleasure to be here with you. And for people who don't know, you've been here since the beginning as well, and it's been quite a journey as we started out with Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn and A Better You, and here we are today, still educating people on the power of elevated listening. So tell us a little bit about why you're so passionate in helping people learn how to listen at an elevated level.
Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. If we are not listening, and most of us aren't, most of us are either on our phones or we're preoccupied with doing something else. I'm sure that you've been in that situation where you're in a conversation with someone and yet you're on your phone, you're texting, you're checking your messages. Are you really taking in everything that the person's saying to you? And is it that you find yourself asking again, especially if it's something that you need to act on? This is very common, especially in our current times of massive social media and being glued to our phones. And so it is ever more important that we become much more present so that we hear everything. And that actually makes us more peaceful, and that creates better communication, better understanding, and more importantly, inner peace for both people that you're interacting with.
So well put, Caroline. Thank you so much. And I do want to share as we begin, and we're giving this education on being a better communicator, is we'd love to have people literally join our community on YouTube, especially, where our goal is to reach 100,000 subscribers. And of course, today it's actually a little bit higher. It's 37,903. So we'd love to have you join our community. Please go over to our YouTube channel and subscribe. Caroline, in the line of work that you do as a certified therapist, you are literally listening to people all the time. I'd love for you to share how you help people bust their stress and what special offer that's super crazy you're offering now.
Thank you. Well, I help people break through the patterns that create their everyday stress. It could be physical, where you're suffering with physical aches and pains, like you're not sleeping, or there might be back pain, neck pain, or it might be something like arthritis or regular infections. It could be mental, so depression, anxiety, mental stress in the mind. It could be emotional, sadness, loneliness, heartache, or it could be behavioral, where you're suffering and moaning, complaining about the relationships that you're in, either at work, in your intimacy, or even in your family. So and we are normal, and we will be having those kinds of challenges because this is every day. Now, when we are stressed, this is how it manifests, either physically, emotionally, mentally, behaviorally. And I help you break through the patterns that create that stress. I use root cause therapy and chakra psychology, because you will continually have that physical ache and pain, or continually have the thing that you're complaining about. I just want to say that many people say they're not stressed, and yet they then say in the next breath, I'm not sleeping very well. I've got that terrible low back pain that I've had for 10 years, and I keep suffering with migraines, and I'm really sick of my partner. That's how your stress is manifesting. And so it's manifesting in your life in a different way. And I help you break through the patterns that create that stress, so that you can release the emotions that have been trapped when it first occurred. And I look forward to helping you bust your stress. Oh, the offer. I'm offering a 1-hour consultation, which will break through 3 of your repeating patterns, whether they be physical, emotional, mental, behavioral. It's an hour consultation, and it's a ridiculous price of £50. It's an introductory offer, just so that you can experience what I do. And I'm really, really passionate about what I do, so much that I want people to experience it so that they get the benefit. And then I know that they'll want to break through more, because we're not walking around with 1 to 3 symptoms. And I look forward to helping you break through that root cause, so that you have inner peace and you have harmony within your relationships, in your family, and in your work.
Please do take advantage of this offer, because Caroline's going to come to her senses soon, and she's going to charge what it really is worth. Okay, so today we're talking about the impact of noise, and I want to tee this up. This was a great topic you came up with. The other day, there was an extensive amount of construction going on, and it wasn't supposed to be going on until another time of the week. And of course, I was broadcasting, and no one really cares what it is that I'm doing, right? Because everyone's doing whatever it is that they're doing. But it's really difficult to broadcast when you have jackhammers and hammering and all kinds of things going on. And what I found happening with me was I was getting very stressed out, because the pounding, it was just so loud, and it just felt so invasive. And so therefore, I felt that I wasn't able to really listen to what anyone was saying, because I was so frustrated and I had so much stress. And what happens in cases like that, not with me because there was no one here, but you can get into a huge argument with somebody because of how you're feeling. And so I literally shut my phone off, because that was even causing me stress too, the binging and the bonging. But I'd like to go to you and just talk about, when we are listening at an elevated level, it's not necessarily always possible to have silence. Someone might come to you and say that they have something going on. Maybe you're in the street, or you're in a public place. How does noise impact our ability to listen?
You know, when you were describing what you had been going through, I really felt for you, because when somebody's doing some work, it absolutely affects us, and we don't realize until we're in it, especially when we're on our own and we have that quiet. And so, in answer to your question, how do you cope with a noisy environment? Now, I spent a lot of years in training and in therapy training, and I used to, when I first started, I was in groups and in training, and it was very quiet, and they all spoke very quietly. And then I started training with some Americans, and they're very loud. and what happened was I had to feel comfortable with the noise of other people's conversation. And when you become very present with the other person, it's actually very easy for that noise to disappear, that you create your own bubble. I know it sounds unbelievably crazy, and it's happened to me. I've been in a very busy restaurant, for instance, where it's very full. There's lots of conversation, lots of noise and clatter and banging. And yet with the people that I'm with, especially if I'm with one or two people, it goes very quiet, and it's almost like all the din on the outside dissipates and there's just the conversation. And what happens is, it's because we've got filters, and we can filter out all the noise in the environment. And then when we're fully present, if we're distracted in our phone and we're distracted with what's going on in our mind in terms of the meeting that we're going to have, or the meeting that we've just had, or what's for dinner, if we're in that conversation in the mind, then it's very difficult to shut out the conversations and that external noise. But when you're fully present with the person that you're with, it is very easy, when you are totally with them, for the surrounding noise to go quiet, so that you've only got you in your little bubble and the other person. And I've done it many times, and it's actually a very beautiful experience, because when you look up and you raise your head above the parapet, suddenly you realize that the restaurant is cleared. And the people that are working in the restaurant, they're looking at you. They've put all the chairs on the tables and you didn't notice. And that's happened to me many times. And it's because I'm totally present. And that's the secret, to really be with the other person. It gives you an incredible experience as well as the other person.
Thanks for sharing that. It's interesting. I've been in restaurants in the same situation, like, whoa, I guess it's time for us to go. But it truly is shutting out the rest of the world. And to what you talked about and what I shared yesterday or the day before, when this was going on, I mentally was not able to be totally present because I had so many things going on in my mind. And so I think that's important when we look at, what does it mean to be totally present? We can't be thinking about something else. Somebody could be sitting there with you and they're looking at you and they're nodding, but they're actually in their head and they're thinking of something else. And they're getting bits and pieces of the conversation, but they're not getting the whole conversation. What telltale signs are there, Caroline, if any, about when someone's looking at you and they are acting like they're listening, but they're not listening?
It'll be when they're nodding in the wrong places. Some people actually are very used to it, especially with their partners. And they'll say, yes, dear, yes, dear, yes, dear. And then the woman might say something like, and if I just take all my clothes off and run up and down the street naked, how would you feel? Yes, dear. So that's how you know that they're not listening. So you can check them out. And I mean, that's a very, sort of cynical and fun way to do it. And that's what happens in some couples. But you can notice, because if you ask a question and they didn't answer, then you'll know that they're not listening. Or if you go silent, waiting for a response because you've asked them something and you need a response rather than a nod, and they haven't answered you, you can definitely tell for sure that they didn't hear you because their mind is preoccupied. And this is a situation with many people, because we have so many things that are demanding our time mentally in terms of what we have to do in an everyday situation. And so this can be forgiven because our minds do wander. And this is where we're living in the mind and not actually being present with the other person. And, you can call them out on it. And if you go silent because you're waiting for a response to something and they didn't answer, and then you repeat the question because you do want an answer, that's how you can tell for sure that they didn't actually listen.
All right. Some of you have just been caught out there, just so you know. Caroline, in many locations, work facilities, offices, places where people had their own office, there's now a bullpen or there's a communal area and people have their little desk situation. There's a small wall, a dividing wall, but you can see or up around over it. And so what I remember when I was in corporate before I retired is the privacy that you would have for conversations wasn't what it used to be. And they had certain places designated for you to go in and have one-on-one conversations. What if someone truly wants to listen, but the noise is affecting them? They're honest about it. You know, Caroline, I really want to listen to what you have to say, but it's just so noisy right here. I can't focus on what you're saying. Can we pick this up at a later time, or can we go outside and talk about this? How do you feel about that?
I think that's amazing. And I feel that that's a great response from the other person, because they're being truly genuine with you. They're saying, you know, I want to hear what you're saying. And it's something that I say to people if I can't hear them because maybe they're on a hands-free set and their mouth, and so they're very low. I will actually say, sorry, I didn't catch what you were saying. You're very quiet. I've put you on loudspeaker and I can't hear you. And when that happens, I'm actually saying, can you repeat that? Because I really want to know what you're saying. So I think it's very proactive if you say, as a person that's interested, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Do you mind if we take this outside or to a place that's a bit quieter? That shows genuine care and interest. That's not giving you lip service. And I actually would appreciate that than them nodding and saying yes and no when they think they should be saying yes and no and not really hearing what you have to say. I think it's a sign of respect that they do value what you're telling them, and they value it so much that they want to make sure they hear everything that you're saying to them.
Absolutely. What a special gift when someone acknowledges that what you have to say is meaningful and they want to take the time to be able to hear what you're saying. I shared with you before we started the show that this evening I will be teaching setting boundaries and asking permission. And I started thinking about my own boundaries and how setting boundaries has really changed for me in the last 2 years since I started teaching this class. And I have a basic system that I use. I want to run it by you. It's the first time I'm saying it publicly, but I realized the boundaries as to whether or not I make a decision to do something, whether it's for business or personal, is I have a return on happiness gauge. So if I do X, and I'll give you an example, if I do X, what is the upside? And then what are the possible risks? So it's the old, I guess, risk reward. But I used to play tennis. I was co-captain of the tennis team when I was in high school. And then I stopped playing. Then I started playing. And I was walking by the tennis courts and I thought, I wonder if it'd be nice to pick up a racket and play again. And immediately in my head, I started going through, okay, what are the positives? What are the negatives? And the negatives were I could definitely get hurt and that would really mess everything up. So I set a boundary that I'm not going to pick up a tennis racket. And I walked by the pickleball courts and I thought, well, I've done that before. That's good exercise. It's a great way to meet other people, but I could get injured. So that's off the list. So that's how I look at everything and set a boundary. And even in communication, what is the value I'm going to get out of working with this person, helping this person? Then what's the downside? And that really has helped me in a lot of ways. What do you think as a therapist?
Wow. Wow. That's quite amazing. You know, you're doing what I would call a risk assessment on each thing that you're considering doing. That takes a lot of care, you know, because sometimes we can just like fling into something, just like do something and then realize, oh, that wasn't a good thing to do. And you're actually really being very considered. I would call it a very sensitive and considered approach, where you're weighing up, is this good for me or is this not good for me? And sometimes I do a similar kind of thing, you know, especially when I'm taking on a project or taking on something that, do I really have the time to do this? Can I fit this in with all the other things that I'm doing? And can I give it justice? Can I give it everything that it needs? And sometimes, you know, I will then turn around and say, no, I don't think I can right now. It might not be, it's the right thing, just not right now. And I do have this thing that says, this is right for me to do, but the timing's not right. And then I reflect on that and say, I'm absolutely right in saying that, because, then my week unfolds and I didn't really have the time to do something. And so I do tend to, well, I used to very overly commit myself, and I found myself not being able to say no. So this is actually a really good way of weighing it up. And you're living on your own, so you're weighing it up in your mind, saying, is this good? Is this what are the pros of doing this? What are the cons of doing this? And then you've decided, not from a rash perspective, but actually saying, no, this is not right for me. Sometimes we don't have that space internally or the time to do that. And I think it's a real wow that you do that.
Thank you so much. Tap myself on the back. What I found is many times we make decisions based on emotion or what someone else wants us to do because it's good for them. And I'll give an example. I love examples. I had someone recently ask me if I wanted to go and do something in the outdoors. And I'm not really an outdoors person. I'm not a hunter. I don't believe in that. I'm not going to take 4 hours off and go hiking. It's just not who I am. But the other person felt really strongly about me doing this. And so I sat down with the person and I said, what is it about me going hiking with you that's so important? Well, I think you work too much. Okay. I think you're inside too much. Interesting. What else? Well, I just think that you're too limited in what you're doing. So I acknowledged what they said and I thanked them. And I said, what part of what you just said has to really do with me? Because it sounds like everything you mentioned has to do with your judgment about what I'm doing, because I'm very happy doing what I'm doing. If I went hiking with you, I'd be very unhappy and you would not be happy either. So the person started to think about it. And I said, everything that you mentioned was about you and your judgment of me. And the person, their eyes just, at first of all, I think they were embarrassed, but they hadn't even thought about what I had said. So I said, I have drawn a boundary, and the boundary is that I'm going to do things I am passionate about, because at 61 years of age, if not now, then when? And I happen to be in a situation where I'm able to make my own decisions and to spend my time as I would wish. So as much as you think you would like me to go hiking with you, that's as much as I'd like you to go and do TRX and spin class with me.
Wow, you did it. If somebody said that to me, that is just not my thing anyway. And this is something that I do say. I don't know whether it's a British saying. I'll say, that's just not my thing. And I'm quite comfortable with saying that, because if somebody wanted me to go hiking, that would be the last thing I'd want to do. I'd injure myself, I know for sure.
I'll see you at the Four Seasons, Caroline.
So it is about, that we're all different, we're all individuals, and that we have different passions. So that friend that you were just talking about, she's an adventurer. She needs the outdoor and to be hiking. So she's in this adventure mode in her life to get the thrills that she needs. And some of us are indoor people. That doesn't mean to say that we don't get a thrill in what we do. We're just different. And so it's important, I feel, to be respectful of each other and each other's differences, because it's the differences that create the greater and the better relationships. It's the being respectful of our differences, and rather than saying you have to be like me for me to like you and for you to be right, it's more about being respectful of what's different and learning from the other person of what makes them tick and what makes you tick, because it would be interesting to feel what the other person feels in terms of when they're in their passion. And yes, she was definitely throwing her stuff literally onto you because she was feeling maybe a little bit left out, that you didn't want to go hiking with her, and feeling that, well, what is it that you've got that you're staying inside, whereas she's being the adventurer and almost risking life and limb maybe, and that's making her feel wonderful. How can you be feeling wonderful? So this might be almost a backhanded compliment of wanting to understand how you're so passionate about what you're doing because you're not doing the same things. And this is a backhanded way of wanting to find out what's going on in your life and actually looking at the options that might be available for her.
I think that's really something for me to consider and actually have the conversation. I think that's terrific. I also feel that when we set a boundary, for example, I'm not going hiking, that people should, I shouldn't say should, but if someone respects you, they'll accept that. Okay, this person's not a hiker. Just like if I were to say to the person, why don't you walk 8 miles with me? They might say 8 miles seems excessive. Maybe I could do 2. But by setting a boundary, at least you are being true to yourself. And when you're true to yourself, I feel a lot of that noise that we're talking about, that back and forth in your brain, a lot of that noise subsides because now you're not sitting there doing something because someone else wanted you to do it. How many times do we do something we don't want to do? And the whole time we're thinking, oh, I don't feel like doing this. You're not even enjoying the experience or seeing if you like the experience because you're so angry and aggravated that you committed to doing it in the first place.
I'm so in agreement with you. And that's one of the reasons why when I do activities, I kind of quite like to go alone and then meet other people that are in that activity, that are passionate. They're actually there and passionate about what they're doing and excited. So I do a lot of my training courses on my own, and then I meet people there. And it's nice to share it with other people that want to be there. And it's quite an altruistic way of being, because then you're not pushing somebody along to like what you do. I did have a friend a long time ago that I used to invite to trainings. And she was actually, I was the person that would like to sit at the front and, be in all the noise of the trainings. And she was actually very much a person that I found out much later was a person that would like to sit at the back and be in a little bit more of the background. And it wasn't that we didn't like the courses. It was just that we took them in different ways. And that's important to understand. And we were very good friends. And it took a little while, for us to work out that the training courses that I like to do weren't actually the right training courses for my friend to do. And so, very respectfully, we kind of said, we're not going to do this again. We're not going to do the same courses again. And if it is something that you're interested in, we won't do them together. And that was being respectful of each other's differences, that I would want her to sit in the front with me and then she would feel uncomfortable. And because we went together, it was like I was putting on her, and I was quite young at the time. And I feel that now I've grown into, sort of more of my own personality and less of being in an identity. I feel that now I just go and do things. If I want to do a dance, which is like an 8-hour dance, I will go and do it, and then I'll meet other dancers. I don't have to be with somebody and stay with them. And I feel that that's giving me freedom to do what I want to do. I don't like the fact that I need to be clinging to somebody. And then I can wander around and dance with many people, and then I have more fun that way. And it's much more freeing for me and for other people.
I like those words that you just used about it being freeing. When you feel free, I think you feel empowered, and then you have more to offer someone, as opposed to us all trying to be the same, that cookie cutter. And when we bring it back to listening, we're all listening at different levels. And as you know, and I know, we actually have a quiz people can take over on our website, usaglobaltv.com, and they can test themselves to see how well they're listening. And now that you and I have been doing the show for so long, and we really do believe in elevated listening, I find myself constantly examining other people's behavior just automatically. I don't know if you find that or not, or how I'm reacting and how I'm being triggered and why am I acting that way, and how can I look at what's coming up for me and then make a change in that. So for all of us across the world, we have different skill sets when it comes to listening. And as I've said to you before, everyone thinks they're listening so well, but why do we have so much strife in the world? Why do we have wars? Why do we have bullying? Why do we have depression, anxiety, all these things when everyone's listening at an elevated level?
Well, it's because we're not. It's the answer to that question. And we are in that space, I feel, because when I was a child and growing up, there wasn't so much fight for your attention. There wasn't so much media that was like coming in at you, when we were children. I know that sounds like, I'm being old and I'm saying, it was better when I was young, but actually it is different. And it's important to acknowledge that. The children that are being brought up now, that they're glued to their phones, and it's not how it used to be. And it's actually quite different in terms of your experiences of life. And being glued to the phone will cause you a lot of stress and anxiety. And even the pings, if you've got the notification on a ping, it's like an adrenaline kick. And when you don't get enough likes or loves, or interaction, it can sometimes affect you, especially if you're very much glued to the social media. And when we're in that space, how can we be listening? How can we be present with anybody else? I do want to share something, that there's a gentleman that is a little bit on the edge in terms of he has some different opinions, and he'd been kicked off Facebook a couple of times. And he appeared again after 6 months last night and dropped a picture saying, "Hello, I'm back." And I dropped a message saying, "Oh, really good to see you back. Welcome back." And he says, "I'm now back to fight another fight." And he says, "I've had a break from social media and I feel so much better for it." And I thought that was really kind of he was being quite cognizant with the fact that he deliberately felt better by taking the break, and he took the extended break to feel different. He says, "I've been living in the real world rather than being in social media." And so when all of these things attack us for our attention, we have very little attention for ourselves and for other people that are around us in our lives.
I love what you just shared. It's so important for us to realize for ourselves, how well are we showing up in terms of being present and being focused? How well are we setting boundaries? Because we're not talking about listening at an elevated level all of the time. We're not talking about sacrificing everything you're doing in your life so that you can be there to listen for somebody else 24/7. How would you say we should figure out a timeline or how to incorporate elevated listening into our routine?
Well, I have to do that on a daily basis because people are calling me and people are demanding that attention from me, which I give. And I have to decide when I'm free. And I think that that's important, when I'm available to speak at that elevated level. And so if I've done a show, for instance, one of the things that I want to do is to organise, because it's in the evening in the UK, I want to organise myself to have dinner. And so I will make sure that I say, if somebody needs me to be in a call or in a consultation, that I'm actually not available until I've eaten. So I don't say I'm not available. I say I'm available anytime after 10 o'clock and anytime before 5 p.m. And so if the show's starting at 7, I'm giving myself some clear time, and I'm not allowing somebody to be right on top of the time that I should be preparing for a show. And I feel that that's important. That's a boundary, and it's a very good one. And it might be that I might lose a client. It might be that they've contacted me at 6 o'clock and I might send them a message back and say, I'm not free now until late, so it'll be better on Tuesday morning. And it might be that it's not right for them. And so they'll say, well, let's arrange to catch up a few days later. And I think this is being respectful of when you really have the time. And when I first started doing my training work and working with clients, I would be consistently, I'd organize dinner and then I'd get a call and I would take it. And now I don't, because it's important that I nourish myself and I look after myself so I'm totally free and fully present for the other person. So understand what your needs are. And if you need a lie-in, don't say you're available at 6 a.m. if you need a lie-in. If you know that you've had a late night and you've been working till 11 or midnight, that you're not going to be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed to take a call and a consultation call at that, or even a friendship call at 6 a.m. if you've only been in bed for 4 hours. And so this is just, it sounds like common sense, but you'd be surprised that many people don't consider these things. They just literally pick up the phone without any consideration for themselves. And then they get disgruntled and they get frustrated because there's a boundary that's been overstepped and they haven't said anything to the other person.
Exactly. And something I want our audience to take away from this is, I know it might sound scary to tell someone no, I'm not available at this moment. Sometimes people just the thought of it, they can't do it. And then obviously how the other person is going to receive it. And we've seen this happen before when someone says, I really don't have the time to do this. Well, what if we did this and this? And then you could find the time, right? They give you options. They start providing solutions for you when you know how much you can handle. And they kind of back you into a wall because you allow yourself to be backed into it. And finally, you just give up and go, okay, what is it you wanted to talk to me about? Knowing that you don't have the mental capacity. You talked about when you've done a show. I know for me on a Friday, please leave me alone after work. Like, do not come near me. I had some friends ask me to go out. I said, I don't have it. I don't have anything left to give. I can't listen anymore. I don't want to talk. I just want my body and mind to be at peace because I know I don't have anything left in the tank, so to speak. But other people might feel the same way, but won't say, I can't do it because of their fear of rejecting someone. Maybe if you reject someone, they're not going to be your friend anymore. There's all kinds of things that come up for us that are fear-based. What do you think?
Oh, this is a loaded one, being able to say no gracefully and consciously. You're not saying no, not ever. You're just saying no, not right now. And I feel it's important. It's something that I had to learn because I never said no. I always said yes. I was very much a people pleaser and also an approval seeker. And I've learned over the years that nobody can give you the approval. And when you are the type of person that says yes to everything, you're then stepping across your own boundaries and what feels good for you. And so you will feel a level of frustration or even resentment to the other person because you haven't said no. And I invite you to practice no, and just feel inside how it feels, because it can actually be very empowering when you say, no, I'm sorry, I'm not free now. But I am free at this time on this day. And it then allows the other person to consult their diary, because how do you know that they're coming to speak to you when they're free and not knowing if you're not free? And it's important to be respectful of your own boundaries, because when you are respectful of your own boundaries by saying no, not right now, or it's not a good time, please call me back. It might be 4 hours later because you're doing something. It might be that it's too late and you're looking at the following day. Never be afraid to say no, because I feel that there's far more respect for saying, I'm sorry, I was free up until 5 o'clock, and now I'm getting ready to do my shows. I'm getting ready to do something else. And so now I'm not free until the following day. I just think that allows the other person to say, oh, right, okay, you haven't got time to speak now. Thank you very much for letting me know. Let's speak another time. And so saying no is actually empowering for you. It allows you to be fully present with the person. And also, more importantly, it allows the other person to feel more flexible with you by being more genuine with you when they're actually being with you in that focused time that you're both setting aside for each other.
Absolutely. And Caroline, one thing I did not hear you say, which is fantastic, is in the examples you gave, you didn't give a bunch of excuses. Here's where saying no starts to fall apart. Caroline, I can't talk to you now because I'm getting my hair done. She's getting her hair done, but she can't talk to me. I can't talk to you right now because I'm going to the gym. Oh, I guess going to the gym is more important than hearing about my dire straight situation. People start judging the explanation that you're giving. So, a way to turn that around is, Caroline, I'm really sorry, but I'm not available to speak with you right now. However, I would be able to speak with you and happy to do so in about 2 hours. How does that sound?
It's what I do. And it's a very good practice to have. I used to give chapter and verse and the excuses. I've learned, though, the excuses and the explanation was really for me. It wasn't for the other person. It was for me to feel better about saying no. And, I've fallen into that trap too, because I was very much a people pleaser and an approval seeker. And this is where it comes from. Those behaviors come from being in that place that you want you want to please them, and you'll do anything, and so you will load the excuses by saying, I'm so sorry, I'm doing this and this, and I just can't speak to you right now. And then it because you're on the back foot, it puts the other person on the back foot as well. But if you're very convincing, if you are in a place where you are being genuinely authentic about saying no, it's not a good time right now, what happens is it comes back the other way too. If I ever call up and speak to my financial guy, and he's very, very busy and very, very whizzy, he's an amazing guy, I always say to him, especially if I can hear that it's not a good time to speak, I will say, is it a good time to speak right now? And he might say something like, not really, but I have a few minutes. And I feel that that's important, because he's given me that it's not a good time. And I might say, well, I'll drop you an email then. And he might then say, no, it's okay, I have a few minutes if it's quick. And that's important, because then he's being respectful and he's telling me what his requirements are. And then I know how I have to fit in with what time he has available. And I feel that that's authentic communication. And it is really, truly a most honoring way to communicate. And sometimes I will call up people and they don't answer the phone, and it might just not connect. And I just think, well, that's okay. I'll call them back another time. And it might be that for some phones, they're actually ringing, but their personal's on another call and it doesn't have an engaged tone. And so that's another way of knowing that it's not the right time to speak. But sometimes when you don't get through straight away, I always consider, well, right, then I can just carry on with what I'm doing until that person's free. And so look at it always with a silver lining.
Absolutely. And I just want to, as we close out the show, I can't believe it already. I just want to also offer the fact that when you do agree to be a listener for someone, remember you're giving that person a gift, because most of us feel unheard. And many conversations that we have with people are one way, unless you are someone who practices elevated listening, or you're doing so now. You're taking the quiz to find out where you stand with your listening skills and how can you improve on them. So when you give that gift of listening at an elevated level, that could be life-changing to someone. That could be just what they needed so that they can take a look at the situation by airing it to someone else. And remember how powerful that can be, that you have given the gift of agreeing to be that elevated listener, listening, being totally present and totally focused on the other person.
It's actually very relaxing. It's when you aren't busy in the mind, it's relaxing for you and the other person, and it feels much more fulfilling in that conversation. And you will sleep better as well when you're in that that you're not in the head with lots of different conversations running around. Let's face it, a lot of us are. We have a lot of things going on. That's just our world today. But when we become fully present, it's just so peaceful for both parties. It's not just a gift for the other person, it's a gift to yourself too.
Absolutely. Thank you, Caroline. How can people reach you, and who would you like to contact you?
Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. Gosh, I can't believe we're there at the end of the show. You can reach me on nomorestress@live.co.uk, or call, if you're international, +44. If you're local, 07523 120 189. If you are feeling stressed, anxious, or feeling a level of depression, if you've had a recent bereavement, if you're feeling anxious and stressed within a relationship or a family situation or a work situation, let's face it, this is how life is. There is stress in situations, and the stress is only just that you're not handling it. Please reach out, and I offer that incredible offer of an hour consultation, and I also do a free mini, it's 15 minutes over a consultation, just to look at one aspect of what's causing your problems. And it's always beneficial to reach out and set up an appointment, and I look forward to helping you bust your stress.
Thank you, Caroline. That was so much fun. Great conversation. I'm looking forward to our next show. And you'll be back again on Monday for
Yes,
a woman's prerogative.
I will be, for parts 1 and part 2.
We'll look forward to that. Thank you very much.
Have a lovely week. Thank you so much.
You too. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Please do reach out to Caroline and take advantage of her incredible offer. She's really being very generous there. And for those of you who are interested in learning how to listen at an elevated level, what does that mean? That means learning how to listen without judgment, learning how to listen without interrupting, learning how to listen without solving a problem, and learning how to listen without stealing the stage. These are all things that we do when we're listening, and it's really about us, not the other person. You can go over to our website, usaglobaltv.com, and you can find the listening quiz several places there. There's no charge to take it. We will get back to you with your answers, and we'd love to have you sign up for our courses. You can also go to our website, usaglobaltv.com, and go to education. We'll put the links into the notes. And just think about, what is it you can do yourself right now so that you learn how to listen differently? And the answer is, you can buy my book. How about that for a nice plug? You can go over to Amazon and you can pick up a copy of my book, Mastering the Power of Elevated Listening. You can also reach out to Caroline with any challenges that you are going through. If you're feeling stressed out, if you're not sleeping, if you have pains that are reoccurring, do reach out to her. Again, all of the contact information is in the show notes, wherever it is you're watching. And finally, I will leave you with this request again. Would you kindly, right now, as you're listening to me, just go over to youtube.com and put in USA Global TV and Radio and subscribe. So easy to do. We also have a second channel, which is Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and we'll be making up slides for that as well. We'd love to have you follow us on both of our YouTube channels. If you have a Roku TV, you can download our app, which is USA Global TV and Radio. If you have an Amazon Fire TV, you can download our app, which is USA Global TV and Radio. If you are on the E360 app, you can find our shows there. If you're on Zizzle app, you can find our shows there. Thank you again for being here. I really do appreciate it. We're going to go over now to our sponsors, and we'll be back with our next show shortly. Take a look. USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents our partner and sponsor, Mr. Philip Sykes and the British School of Excellence. Building confidence, changing lives. And now, proudly presenting the Polished Professional.
On a transformative journey with the British School of Excellence's comprehensive suite of masterclasses, crafted to elevate your professional and personal life. 8 outstanding modules will elevate you to the next level. Module 1, Exploring Life's Purpose, delves into the depths of self-discovery, guiding you to chart your unique path to fulfillment and success. Module 2, Mastering Professional Presence and Confidence. This masterclass is a deep dive into the art of self-assurance and commanding presence, which is essential for standing out in today's competitive landscape. Module 3, Learn the Secrets of Visual Impact, how to curate a personal style that amplifies your professional brand. Module 4, Mastering Professional Etiquette and Communication Excellence, navigating the nuances of corporate interaction with grace and tact. Module 5, Elegance and Eloquence. We impart powerful techniques to captivate and persuade any audience with your oratory skills. Module 6, Unlock the potential of your emotional intelligence, EQ, and harness the ability to connect, empathize, and lead with emotional savvy. Module 7, Mastering DISC, building a gateway to understanding behavioral styles, fostering better personal and professional relationships. Module 8, Mastery in Dining Etiquette, building your confidence to perfect the subtleties of dining with finesse, enhancing your social savviness at any table. Step into the Polished Professional program where poise, elegance, and excellence aren't just taught, they're instilled for life. Join us to redefine your potential and polish your professional edge.
To learn more, go to thebritishschoolofexcellence.com. The British School of Excellence are investors in people. Let us invest in you.
Meet Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, President, Founder, and Chief Listening Officer of USA Global TV and Radio. She is a certified life, career, and executive coach. Dr. Jacalyn is the Amazon #1 best-selling author of Behind the Green Screen and Adversity to Awesome. As the listening mentor, she teaches children and their families how to listen at an elevated level through the book series titled The Amazing Adventures of Lady Ella, the Listening Mentor. The Creative Hearts Awakening book series features heart-centric creatives who share their awakening journey. Through the Power of Listening educational course platform, people can get certified as elevated listeners on USA Global TV and Radio. Learn how to center yourself and align with nature through the power of nature, plants, and shrines. The Journey of Chakra Psychology course will educate you on the chakras and their meaning. The Intuition of the Heart course will help you understand how to trust your intuition. Learn how to face the shadows of self and understand the impact of following trends and materialism. Set boundaries and ask for permission to help establish better relationships, deeper connections, and more authentic conversations. Take your communication expertise to a higher level with the course for curious humans. After all, we are not robots. Looking to start your own podcast platform? Get everything you need in the Podcaster Pro package with Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. How can music, breath, and your voice set you free? Find out with the Power of Listening courses. Dr. Jacalyn is a certified meditation teacher, yoga instructor, and Juice Plus distributor. She will help you create a plan for your healthy lifestyle. As an expert in the art of interviewing with over 3,000 hosted and/or produced live broadcasts, Dr. Kerbeck helps her clients stand out as global broadcasters. Dr. Kerbeck's books are available on Amazon. Start your listening journey by reading. Tune into the Listening Mentor TV show, Fridays on USA Global TV, and learn how listening can be your superpower. Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, MBA, DBA, Certified Holistic Life, Career, and Executive Coach, Certified Yoga Sculpt Teacher, Certified Meditation Teacher, The Listening Mentor, Singer-Songwriter, Founder, President, Chief Listening Officer of USA Global TV and Radio. drjacalyn.com. Thank you to all our elevated listeners, team members, animal characters, and co-authors. Contact us at 215-852-9406. Jacalyn at drjacalyn.com.
Hello, I'm children's author Diane Floyd Bain, and I am co-host for several of the USA Global TV and radio shows. I joined because of the purpose of the USA Global TV and radio. They provide content for the viewers and listeners, an opportunity for people around the world to have their own show or even be a guest on an existing show. We truly believe in helping others get their positive message out to the world. We also have the opportunity for the listeners. You can watch on several platforms, and on YouTube, you can ask questions and even give a comment. We absolutely love it. I love being part of the USA Global TV and radio because I love positive messages, and who doesn't? And we need more of that in the world. We are a family, and we hope you will join us and become part of the family too.